right, hello everyone. Welcome back to the Silver Rush Podcast, episode 4. And today we have a lot to talk about since free agency is now passed, and the Lions did some really exciting things and some exciting moves. Mitch, how you doing today?
Good. How are you, bro?
I'm great, man. I'm excited. It's an exciting time to be a Lions fan, and we got a lot to talk about today. That's for sure.
Yes, sir. So let's just jump right into it.
Let's jump right in.
Um, so let's talk about real quick the pay cuts.
Yes, yeah.
Three
First,
big ones.
I just want to point out, just because we had 3 of them, that if you would have told me, 2, 3 weeks ago that we were going to keep, I thought we'd keep Big V. I thought they were going to be structure. Didn't think it was going to be for what they did. But if you told me we were going to keep Okwara and Charles Harris, I would have said, you're crazy. There's no way they're going to keep them. They both
Right.
took significant pay cuts, and that should be all you have to know about this team, about this coaching staff, and how they want to play for the Lions, because they know that the time is now.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't think. I thought Big V was gone. I thought Romeo was gone, or um, Romeo and Harris are gone, or Harris might be back, or I thought we maybe keep one of them, and we end up keeping all three. That's super good for our depth at both.
Oh,
At
yeah.
guard and at edge rusher. Edge rusher, we have a really nice rotation right now.
Well, and
Because
it changes like the whole draft process too. I just want to throw that in there because
Mhm.
in past mock drafts and people have been talking about, we need another edge, which we still maybe do, but
Right.
it's not a pressing need like it was before, because now you have Aiden Hutchinson, James Houston, Charles Harris, Romeo Okwara. You got Kaminsky they just re-signed. Pascal's on the outside every once in a while. I mean, you don't have
Yep.
to even draft a guy now.
And you have Julian, so like
Julian still. I mean,
it's crazy. Julian, he might be what, our eighth edge rusher, and that's a quality eighth edge rusher. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
yeah,
So
no kidding.
and so it's just crazy. It's gonna be a bad camp. Training camp's gonna be so much fun this year, just because all the battles they're gonna be,
Oh,
so
yeah.
much depth, and like you said, going in the draft, all of a sudden you're just like, you kind of can do whatever you want. You don't have to force anything because
Yep.
we have good depth. You're just really gonna probably take the best player or who you think's the best or whatever. So yeah, when I seen Romeo took, you actually texted me when Romeo took that $9 million pay cut. I was like, oh my
Well, and
gosh, no
that's the
way.
thing, man. All 3 of them took significant pay cuts.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know, coming off injuries and stuff, might not get paid elsewhere. So why even try?
Right.
To go elsewhere if you're not gonna get that much. But for all 3 of them to take the pay cuts they did, I would have never guessed they were going to do that.
No, that was huge pay cuts, and like we said, we get Charles back, Romeo, and those guys are. Charles is really good rotational edge rusher, pass rusher. Romeo is a low tier starter. He could be a
Yeah.
good low tier starter, but he's probably gonna be more in the rotation because if all goes well, James Houston or Josh Pascal kind of become the full time edge starter,
Mhm.
and that would be perfect, because then that just gives us super good depth, and then Big V, you got Big V, and obviously we'll talk about Glasgow. But I don't know. They'll probably battle to see who starts, but it probably will be Big V as long as he's healthy,
Yeah.
Because what he can do in the run game is just phenomenal.
Yep.
So, but it's just crazy. All of a sudden, you got really nice depth, and yeah, that just speaks to the culture. These guys are staying in Detroit. I've never seen with really any team that 3 guys that could go somewhere else and get something. They just decide, I'm gonna take a pay cut, stay here, even though, especially with the edge rushers, it's a deep. We have a deep group, and they say, I'm gonna stay here and I'm gonna contribute, and that's crazy. I love it though.
It's nuts. No, it's a great feeling to know you're getting all 3 of them back for a lot less money.
Mhm.
And I know we're probably about to talk about it, but it clears up a bunch of cap room, and I got a feeling that something's going to end up coming out of that.
Yeah, yeah. There's
We'll get to that later on, but
yeah. Mention that though. Brad Holmes is a wizard.
Yes, he
I
is.
mean, think about it. They said with all the new contracts, I believe we have about 20 mil in cap space,
Yep.
and a lot of that's going towards the draft class, obviously. But then you have something, you might be able to do something with the rest. And that's without all these pay cuts. I mean, that's without cuts. Like the only person we really cut to save this money was Brockers,
Yeah.
and so that's impressive as hell.
I know.
But yeah, so you want to talk about let's talk about the re-signings of our team.
Yeah, and they brought back almost everyone that we thought they would,
Hmm.
minus really
Yeah, we called it.
1.5 guys we thought maybe would come
Hmm.
back. I guess first off, I'll just throw this out there just because I feel like we should probably talk about it. The Jamal Williams thing.
Yeah, let's talk about the situation.
What do you think about him leaving, and what do you think about what he said after he left?
Man, when he left, that was a stinger. I
It was.
remember I was at work and I seen the update that we signed Devontae, or not Devontae, David Montgomery, and I'm like, if he's here, that means Jamal's gone.
I know. It
And
was one of those things where I was like, yes, and I was like, oh no.
like shit. Yeah,
Yeah.
because you lose the guy you lose, you fall in love with the person, and the great leader he was and how he was with the fans, and he was just adored. And you lose him, and that hurts. But from what I heard from Bears fans, they hated losing David. They loved him
I
as a
know.
person, and as a player, I've always thought David was talented, and as a player, he's honestly an upgrade because
Oh, he is.
if not anything, then just because of the way he can break tackles. He's actually fifth in the league. Since he entered the league of breaking force missed tackles, and that's so valuable because think about it. He did that behind a horrible Chicago offensive line. So just imagine like the yards before contact he's gonna have, and then he's gonna break tackles after that. He's gonna get chunks and
Mm-hmm.
chunks. So, and he's a tough physical back.
Yes,
So I think he's gonna have a monster year. It
he
does
will.
suck to see Jamal go, but so Jamal said he felt disrespected, and then there was rumors going around what happened with Detroit, and then Brad Holmes kind of confirmed what happened, saying we had this money set aside for Jamal, but it sounds like his agent got greedy. His agent wanted more, so they test the market. Oh, it turns out the market was worse than what Detroit was offering. But by then, Detroit was like, we can't sit on our hands, and we got to move on. And David was there, and they were like, we'll give David it. They tried, they wanted Jamal
Yep.
back, but it sounds like his agent got too greedy.
Yep.
And
That's what I thought too. And so when he made those comments, it really actually it ticked me
yeah,
off.
yeah, and then he made a little weird comment that I don't know. It's kind of hard to tell if it was towards us, but it may seem like it was when he said something about going to an organization that knows how to win.
Knows how to win. Yeah. That
So, which is weird because the Lions are going to be better than the Saints
yeah.
for a while. Saints need to rebuild, but yeah, but yeah, when Brad's super transparent, him and Dan Campbell, they'll tell you exactly what happened, and so that's why when Brad said that today, that makes a lot of sense. It sounds like they were going to give him they're going to give him what the 18 million, but they thought they wanted more. I think they probably shot for like 10 million. They probably did per season, and no one was going to give them that, not even close. So, but by then, Brad had to do what's best for the Lions and move on, and in doing so, actually kind of got an upgrade.
Yeah.
Some people disrespect David, which is crazy, and we're like, oh, Jamal had 1,000 yards, and Jamal had 17 touchdowns. But if you look at those touchdowns, it's no disrespect. He finished them, but it was mostly just goal line.
I know.
Only one of them was not inside like the 2 yard line, 2 or 3 yard line. So that's like our O line. Most running backs, good running backs, can finish those. I think Swift could have finished them if he was on the field more.
Yeah.
I think he would have. Because the O line was just so great near the goal line, really everywhere, but especially the goal line. So, and David, I have no doubt he can do that.
Yep.
And David, all but his rookie year, he had 1,100 yards from scrimmage. And his rookie year, he had 1,074, so barely missed the 1,100 marker. But, yeah, I think David's going to have a huge year. But, yeah, so that's my thoughts. And it sucks to lose a person, but from what I hear, David Montgomery's a great person.
Yep.
And
I'm excited
he seems
about
like
him.
a team guy. Yeah, and I think he's in a weird. Might be a blessing in disguise because I think he's an upgrade. So
Yeah, he is. So, yep. I just want to see what you thought about that. So as far as the Lions' actual re-signings go, they brought back a lot of the guys we liked. They brought back Bugs, Kaminsky.
mhm.
I want to know who your favorite one was that they brought back, and then we kind of talk through. I
Yeah.
mean, who is the one that you saw and you were like, yes, we brought him back. I mean, I'm sure you were like that about a lot of them, but who was the main guy when you saw it come across? You're like, yes, that's who I wanted.
When we brought him back, I wrote down three guys that the main like three guys we brought back, but my number one I was excited for was John Kaminsky.
Yep.
Because
you're gonna say because that was mine. Yep.
I know he was testing the market a little bit. I figured he'd still be back, but I was a little worried. Like, oh man, he's just such a key piece. This D line, bro. I love him, and I wrote down underrated key to our D line. Versatile. That's what he is, and I love John Comiskey. And cheap deal for us, cheap deal. I knew it would be, but he wanted to be back. We wanted him back, and that's just man. Our D line's gonna be nice, bro. It's
Every
gonna be
time he was on the
nice.
field, that defensive line was better. You wouldn't think
Yeah,
that
Hutch is better with John on the
on the
field.
field. Yeah. So when I saw him too, that was the first guy where I was like, yes,
Yeah, I was
that's
pretty pumped about that.
yep.
And then getting Isaiah Buggs back, I like
He was a
that.
big one
He's a
too.
really good run defender, great leader. He just fits for us. He
He does.
fits. He makes sense. And
Another one who wanted to be back, of course, too. And so
yeah,
it's nice to get him
and I
back.
like you need to have those veteran leaders. So having him back, if he can be more of a rotational guy, more the third guy, which he'll be in a ton of on the run defense, but I think he'll even thrive even more. You know what I mean? And I'm sure we're gonna address that still the defensive tackle spot
Yeah.
some way, you know. So and then Alex Anzalone, pretty good deal for both. He got a long-term contract, 3 years longer than what he's been getting, and it's only still like $6 million a year.
I saw some people mad about that though, and I'm sitting like, did you not see how he played the last half of the year?
Yeah, and
I mean,
you look at other linebacker contracts. You have guys that are
look
have
at
15 or
Edmonds.
20 more, and that all are more expensive. But I'm not so sure that there's 15 or 20 more, 25 more linebackers that are more valuable or better than Alex.
Well,
Because we
and
got to
so
give Alex his
yeah,
flowers.
he's like so. Tremaine Edmonds, I liked him
Oh
and I
yeah,
wanted him, but then when I saw him, how much did he get paid again? Was it like
84 mil total.
for 4 years or something like that?
Yeah, and it was it's the richest linebacker contract in
That's what
NFL
I'm
history.
saying. He is not 4 times better or 3.5 times better than Alex Anzalone.
No, that's a lot.
I don't even think he's twice as good. Like he's better. He's a good
Yeah,
linebacker, but
yeah,
he's
he's
not.
top 10.
He's not like. It's not like you have Alex Anzalone here and he's all the way. I mean, and we
Yeah,
got
and
for
that
6
shows for me, I wouldn't pay that contract for any linebacker. You know what I mean?
linebackers not
It's
worth
off
that.
ball linebackers. No, thank you. That's if I'm paying 80 mil, 100 mil. I'm talking about edge rushers or the best of the best interior defensive linemen. More important positions. Corner. Guys that are the more premium positions. But off ball linebacker, I don't know. I'm cool with $6 million a year. Alex, he had a career year last year. He did his job, and honestly, Alex is going to be even better when Rodrigo and maybe even Barnes are better than him.
And two, so I was just gonna throw in there when you get that defensive line better and the cornerbacks better,
Mm,
the linebackers. That's why when you pay linebackers a lot, but your corners and I should say your secondary and your linemen are not good.
yeah,
Your whole defense struggles because the linebackers. I
yeah,
don't want to say they're the least important, but they're they kind of are, I guess, in a way. And
yeah,
if you have even an average defensive line, an average secondary, you can have an average linebacker look really good as long as everyone kind of works as a team. Where like the Bears, I'm just going to the Bears where they paid 2 linebackers a lot of money.
right,
Defensive line blows, their secondary sucks outside of
yeah,
Brisker, and it's like we just signed this guy for $6 million.
yeah,
He's got connections with the whole team. The secondary just got a lot better, which we're going to get to. The D line is getting better, and and then as you said, with Rodrigo going into his second year, Barnes has improved every year so far. I mean, I like where it's going. He's only going to get better as
yeah,
the players around him get better.
yeah, and he's real solid, career year, great leader. So yeah, I like that. We knew he was coming back, and it made sense. They don't really seem to want to pay linebackers, which I don't blame them, especially that kind of money. That was crazy. So yeah,
I was more excited about him than a lot of people actually when I saw that come through.
Yeah,
I was a lot more excited about that than most people.
yeah, and the Lions love him. Dan Campbell loves Alex Anzalone, so if he loves him, I love him.
Yeah.
So and he did play good. He had a really good his best year as a pro last year, and Alex is not that old. He's really
No.
not, and I think we always forget about that. He seems like he's old, but he's not that old.
Not that old.
But he's a great leader and solid player, and a better defense. He's gonna be even better. So I'm really excited. You can't have superstars at every position. You just need some solid guys, and to me, that's what
Exactly.
Alex is.
Yep.
So I'm really excited. I'm glad to have him back because you let him walk. You're missing that. Some things you can't even with young players, you won't be able to fill in right away. You know, his leadership and the chemistry he has already. So I'm glad he's back. Yeah, I like those signings, those
Yep.
re-signings. Um,
Do you want
I
to
don't
talk about
think
any of the other ones? I mean, a lot of the other ones are kind of small. There's
kind
two
of
more I
small.
want
Yeah,
to bring up,
go ahead.
but just run through them really quick.
Okay.
The first one is Will Harris,
Yeah.
and I want to see what you thought because I know a lot of fans don't like him. I'm not the biggest fan, but we'll talk about our new signings here in a minute. And so he's going to be
Yeah.
more of a special teams guy, obviously.
Yeah.
But
I do like it though because special teams definitely, and then he's gonna actually come into a perfect role. Is he's down the depth chart, way down the depth chart. So that's great. I mean, he's not even I don't know
I think he'd be
fifth corner,
six.
fifth, sixth
Uh,
corner. So I mean,
Which,
that's
if
really good.
if he's your sixth corner, that was your issue last year. When he's your third corner,
Yeah, that's
no.
tough. No,
When he's your
but
sixth
yeah,
corner,
sixth
that's second
corner.
spot for him.
He adds to the special teams. So yeah, I did like that. That was underrated depth signing. I
I
like
didn't
that.
hate it for the price. So,
No, yeah, it was cheap too. So
and then the other one is Michael Badgley, just because well,
oh
it's kind of like a
yeah,
love hate thing. He came in and did a lot better than the other guys, but
yeah,
he still could have been better. And I think we want
yeah.
improvement. But also, it wasn't that big of a contract where I wouldn't pencil him in as like he's a guaranteed
Mm-mm.
kicker for next year. I just want to know
No,
what you thought about that.
yeah, that was solid because I forgot he was even a free agent.
Yeah,
Um, obviously we're not going after another free agent kicker like Matt Gay or anything. I think he was a free agent, but
he got paid
or
a ton by the Colts too. That game,
yeah, that was craziness.
got
Yeah, we
paid
were never doing that. We're never gonna do that. And Prater, he was a free agent, but they re-signed him, I guess. So that wasn't gonna happen. And obviously I want Jake Moody from Michigan, but if we don't get him or we don't upgrade there, then you have a solid kicker. Like he's not super powerful or sometimes he's a little inconsistent, but I think he can do good enough. You know what I mean? So I mean, you can't just be like, okay, well, we want to go draft this one kicker, and he's not there, and then all of a sudden Bagley went to someone else. Yeah, all of
yeah,
a sudden you don't got a kicker, so
yeah.
that's bad. So I think it's a good backup
It's
plan.
it's a safety signing, really. And if
Yeah,
he
it
was a
really
kicker
is.
last year, I wouldn't be that mad.
Yeah,
I would like an upgrade if we can in the
if
draft.
we can, if we can't, then you got a solid kicker. He just needs to be a little more consistent. Maybe he will be.
Yeah.
So, but yeah,
Yeah, those were the other two I wanted. And sorry, my notes are on my phone here, so when I'm looking down here, I'm looking at my notes because it's easier for
yeah,
me to do
okay.
that. So, all right. So, any other re-signings you want to go through?
Trying to think. I don't think of
I don't
anyone
think,
because I only wrote the three defenders down.
and I just
Offensively, we
those.
really didn't resign
No,
anyone.
no.
I mean,
Chark
besides
Williams
Craig
left,
Reynolds.
and yeah, I mean, but the guys like that, I mean,
Yeah, solid.
solid signings. They're all
Yeah,
small contracts, and that's
yeah,
why I didn't think we'd probably go into too many of those.
yeah. And then the couple special teams guys we brought back was good.
Yep.
Um, but okay, yep.
All right.
So
So
we can go into our actual signings.
yes, our new
Man,
sign.
look at us smiling because we excited about these signings.
Oh man,
Woo!
I was on vacation and I just
Yeah,
kept staring at my phone, refreshing, and I had all my notifications on for all these Lions accounts, so I saw right when something happened, and right away, not right away, give it an hour or two, and Cam
yeah,
Sutton, that was
yeah.
awesome,
That
and
was huge.
and I,
And
11 million's not that much for a.
no,
I don't know if he's a top 10. He's right on the brink
I'm
corner,
about to
but
give you some numbers that are gonna excite you. So
he's he,
I was like, okay, I want to like see what he compares to some of the other corners. Like, so my Steelers buddy, he was like, bro, he's really good. They were bummed. They were like, oh, we want him back. He gave up, the like fourth lowest completion percentage. It was like 40 some percent. Since what? Since 2019 or something like that. It was something crazy. And my buddy said he's honestly a great number two. You don't really want him to be the corner one, but he probably can do it, and he probably will until either Okuda comes along or if we draft somebody, he comes along. But I was kind of curious. Okay, what's his number? So I wrote down his numbers. So he got targeted 73 times. He gave up only 35 completions. So that was 47.9% completion percentage against him. He only gave up 388 yards, and then he only gave up 11.1 yards per completion, 5.3 yards per target. and only 4 touchdowns and a passer rating allowed of 65.3. So some really good numbers. So I was curious. Okay, who was the best corner in football last year, right? So I went up and looked some numbers, and most people said Sauce. Well, Sauce gave up 500 yards. Darius Slay gave up 500 yards. I don't know how many targets Sauce gave up, but Slay, he gave up, he had, or not gave up, he had 79 targets against him. So it's very comparable, 79 to 73. And he gave up more yards. I think he gave up maybe one less touchdown or the same touchdowns, but he had a worse completion percentage, a worse passer rating. And I'm not saying he's better than Slay, but that just shows you, like, man, he had a great year. Yeah,
I mean,
he had a great year.
I think he's a corner one.
Yeah.
Again, I don't think he's a top 10, but I think he's more like in the next 11 to 20 type of range.
I mean, if he does what he did last year again, then you got to have that conversation of, you know what? The numbers back it up. I mean, why can't we say that, you know? But you got to see that on a different team. Can he be that guy? I still think at worst case scenario, he's going to be a really solid corner for us still.
Yep.
And, you know, my thing is, with the corner additions we added, let's say, worst case scenario, Cam Sutton and Emmanuel Mosley are both just average corners. Well, that would be better than what we had the last few years, you know, from as far as our play goes. So that's even still an upgrade, which I think they'll be better than that.
The last couple of years, our peak for corners has kind of been maybe one above average and the other guy's average for a game. It's been so inconsistent.
Or horrible.
Or it's usually been both bad or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, if they both come in and just play average, that would be a lot better than what we're having.
Mm-hmm.
And we can kind of jump into that Mosley signing too, where I saw him getting, you know, he's going to get double-digit million a year, 13, 14 million a year.
Yeah.
And I think because of injury, he didn't. But
right.
I mean, all the 49ers people that I were, you know, reading tweets and reading articles, this dude's really good. And if it wasn't for him getting hurt, he would have got a lot more money. And if he can come back and play how he was before his injury, along with Sutton playing good, if you could have Okuda or Jacobs or whoever's going to be the other guy, I guess it would be now Gardner Johnson. I mean,
yeah,
he plays in the slot. I mean, who knows? I mean, it's so exciting, and I feel like Brad Holmes always does this where it's, oh, this guy got hurt. He was really good before he got hurt.
He loves those low risk, high reward type of players, and they worked out.
They've worked out really well, and so
yeah.
I mean, I can't believe that we got him for $4 million. The Sutton signing was more of a longer term.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's only you can get out after 2 years if they want to. You know, it's essentially a 2-year deal.
Comes in and he kicks ass and he's the answer on one side.
Yeah, Cam coming in. You know, that was a good signing, not expensive really. Like you said, $11 million a season, not bad. Emmanuel Mosley. Yeah, I have 3 Niners buddies I'm close to, and I talk sports all the time with, and they love him. They loved Emmanuel. They're like, bro, if he can stay healthy, he's honestly a great corner. My one buddy, he took it real far and said he elite, bro. So, because he's and I've known about him. So when I signed him, I was like, because you know I follow them, you know, the Niners for them too and stuff. So I'm like, oh, and I talked to them about it a lot, and I always heard them talking about him, you know. And so when we signed him, I was like, oh, really? I was like, I like that. So, yeah, and that was super cheap, low risk, high reward.
1 year, $4 million. Is that what it was?
Yeah, I think so. It was cheap. It was real cheap. And, you know, the thing I like about these corners we added, they can tackle and they're physical. So, they got good size. So, these are really good moves we added those corners and then,
Johnson, man.
But I do want to say, I do still think, you know, I still believe in Jeff Okuda, and I still think.
Yeah.
So you bring in this competition is going to be insane. So you have Cam, you have Emmanuel, you have Jerry, you have Jeff. Those are your 4 corners right now. And then if you draft a corner, all of a sudden you got a crazy corner battle.
Yep.
But I think we can pretty much just say Cam Sutton's going to. He $11 million a year. He's starting.
He's going to start for sure.
Emmanuel doesn't have to start, you know what I mean? He only got so much, and if he doesn't earn it, he doesn't earn it. But this is really good for Jeff, and even Jerry. But, you know, I'm a Jeff guy, so...
Yeah, I don't want to underrate Jerry either, because I think he's actually played pretty decent the last couple of years.
Yeah, he has. They're both really young corners, so, I mean, the other starting spot is up for grabs. And then the third one, you know, we'll play a lot of our corners, so
Well, and that's why I was saying C.J. Gardner Johnson, because he played slot when he was in
Yeah,
New Orleans with Aaron Glenn originally.
yeah,
And I
yeah,
could go in there. Maybe they'll do three safety packages
yeah.
with corners on the field sometimes too, and all that. I know,
Yeah.
but
That's
um,
why this training camp is so essential, especially for Jeff, because I mean I saw Jeff, made some amazing plays and then he'd have some bad plays, but this is so good for him. He full off season healthy, doesn't have to worry about nothing, and just working, getting better. And now he has to up his level. If he doesn't up his level, if he doesn't take that next step and gets better, then he won't play. He won't start
yeah,
for us. But if he does, that's the best case scenario.
if he
So
takes the step he's supposed to, and these guys come in and play how they're supposed to, I don't want to hype the things up too much because I'm going to get ahead of myself. But I mean, why can't the defense just be like one of the top 3 defenses in the league then? If he's playing how
right.
they should, safeties come back, play how they should, defense lines back how they should.
And I'm curious to see, like, oh, it's so hard. I'm such a I love Jeff Okuda, and then you have Jerry, who I love too. I mean, these young guys are just gonna raise it. They got to get
Yeah.
better. There's gonna
Well,
be
I mean,
not much room for error, and they're just gonna have to get better, and that's what I'm
competition
excited about.
competition helps everyone get better.
Yeah, it
First off,
does.
second off, people are bound to get hurt. As we said with
Right.
Will Harris being number 6, Jerry's number
Yeah.
5, 4. It depends if you see Gardner Johnson as a slot or as a safety, because I see him as kind of both.
Yeah.
And that's another thing too I want to talk about because I feel like Sutton, he's versatile. He can play slot, he can play outside.
Yeah.
Mosley's kind of the same way. They brought in these guys who are versatile who can play other positions. Where if
So
I mean,
before we signed C.J. Gardner Johnson, my idea was kind of like, okay, well, even after Emmanuel, you can put Cam in a slot.
yep,
And then you have Emmanuel on the outside, big corner. You have Jeff, another big corner on the outside. That's pretty good. And all of a sudden, I remember you texting me. Every time we signed somebody, I was either at work or I'm doing something. I was literally driving home from getting food, and I got this mess. I got a tweet and it said, the Lions signed C.J. Gardner Johnson, which I just tweeted like a day before. I was at my brother's. I was like, bro, the Lions just signed C.J. Gardner Johnson, and literally 2 hours later they do, and I'm freaking out. Everybody's texting me, tagging me on Facebook, messaging me. I'm like, bro, we got CJ. I gotta get home. I'm
oh
so
my gosh, it's so
happy.
exciting. Yeah, I'm upstairs with my wife. I'm like, hey, we just signed C.J. Gardner Johnson. I'm over there like jumping up and down. Who? I'm like, I know you don't understand, but I was just like, I have to tell someone, I have to talk to someone. Like, this is
Right,
awesome.
such a big deal.
And so, and again, so now you have all these spots. Let's say Tracy's not ready on time, which I think he will be because he looks like he is.
Yeah,
Move him back there. If he's ready, you have Kirby and Tracy back there. You can move CJ to the slot. Then you can have Sutton and Mosley on the outside, or Sutton and Okuda on the outside, or whatever the case is. I mean, you have all these guys where now you have an injury or two. Last year's like you had an injury or two. It's like, shit, man, this is not good.
yeah.
Now you have an injury or two. Not that it's going to be good, but now it's like, oh, well, at
There's
least
much more
guys
depth.
that
And
are
my buddy asked me, my Steelers buddy asked me, what do you think he's gonna play? I told him I think he's gonna play in the nickel mostly. He's gonna be, he'll play multiple spots because that's how our defense will be. But majority of the time, I feel like he's gonna be in the nickel. I think Tracy's gonna play as our box safety, and then I think Kirby's gonna be the free, because Kirby was great. You can't, even though CJ balled as a free safety with Philly. I mean, Kirby, he's on the upcome as one of the next best ball hawk free safety. So I think, I think they're all gonna move around a little bit, and that's a nasty trio of
it
safeties.
is.
And that's why it's so important for Jeff to win the starting spot, because the nickel is probably going to be played mostly by CJ. So a corner is probably not going to be there as much. So that's why it's so big for these corners. This camp is going to be insane, and I cannot wait. That battle is going to be crazy.
So as I said, man, I don't. If we weren't recording it, I don't think. I don't want to wish my year away, but can September? Actually,
Yeah.
we'll just say July because that's when training camp starts.
Yeah, at least training camp. Give us training camp. I know
July-
the draft. We still got the draft, and then we gotta go through that long process. I feel like from the
That's
draft to
the
training
worst.
camp, it's so long.
The only thing that's in there between there, but that's fun, is the schedule release. That's the only thing you really
Yeah.
get to look forward to between the NFL
Yeah.
draft and when free agency or free agency when training camp starts.
Yeah, because
So
training camp's the end of April, so you're like, damn. I mean, not April, July. You're like, damn,
yeah,
hurry up.
yeah, it's always
But
like the last few days of July.
and I'm super excited about that. And there's like a lot of we're gonna have to come on here and talk about like the training camp battles because there's gonna be a lot of them.
Oh yeah,
Like I'm curious to see who's gonna be the third receiver for Detroit. I'm curious to see running back 3 for Detroit. You know, the cornerback position. I mean, we're gonna have starting spots competing. The guard position. You know, so it's just like a lot. It's gonna be so much
it
fun.
is. Well, speaking of guard, bringing back Graham Glasgow, that was a nice blast from the past. But also,
And
I
we
like
talked
the
about
signing.
that.
I know we did, and I was surprised. Now bring back Marvin Jones just because I like the guy and I want him back.
Right.
But when I saw that too, I'm like, okay, now that's before the Big V
Mhm.
restructure happened. I
And
thought,
that's
okay,
why I thought Big V could be going. Oh, we got Glasgow, we got his replacement. No, all of a sudden you got really good depth. And
well,
you're like, wait a minute.
and now too, I'm sure they're going to fight it out for the starting spot. And I
Yeah,
like both of them, whoever gets there. But that also, they're both going to get better trying to fight out that
yeah,
spot. And then, as you said, depth. If someone gets hurt, Jonah Jackson gets hurt, let's say, or whoever
yeah.
starts at the right guard spot. You
Or
have
even Ragnow, because
yeah,
remember Glasgow came in as a center.
you did, and so now you have a very good depth piece,
Yeah,
and again versatile because Glasgow can play center or guard, and so I think, and I liked Evan Brown, but I think that hoping Ragnow is never going to get hurt. I think
Glasgow's
Glasgow's a better
better.
guard than
And
he is
with
center.
Denver, and Denver was such a weird situation. Some people are like, I don't think he was that good there, but like with Detroit, if you remember, that's why he got a big deal with Denver because he balled in Detroit as a
Very good.
guard. Like once we got Ragnow, we kicked him over. Like he was a good guard.
Ah,
So and really good pass protector. So it's like, oh man, you get hit. So it's gonna be weird because I feel like his strengths is pass protecting and Big V's strengths is run blocking. So it's like, oh man, they're gonna have to. Their weakness is gonna have to. Whose weakness is stronger, really?
yeah,
And
that's
weakness, I
what it's
say
going to come
weakness,
down to.
but yeah. So I mean, say weakness, but it might not be even weakness. You know,
Yeah.
I felt like Big V before he got hurt, he was pretty good there still.
Yeah,
You
yeah. Well,
know,
I like them both. I think they're low end starters probably,
yeah,
but they're both better than being a backup, and so that's why it's
yeah,
going to be exciting because
yeah,
even if someone's on the bench, that if someone gets hurt, they can come in and fill in nicely. So that
yeah.
was
That
that was
was
a
really
cheap
nice.
again another 1 year like 4 million I
Hmm.
think.
Yeah, that was a cheap deal. So good depth piece, and this doesn't rule out guard because think about it, he's on a 1 year deal. Big V basically is on a 1 year deal because I'm pretty sure he hits free agency next year with a new reconstruction of his contract.
Yep.
So I think we're still going to draft a guard at some point in the draft. But you're not sitting there thinking, okay, so before we signed Glasgow and I thought Big V was gone, I thought there was a hole right there. No one's there, so you almost got to draft a guard early. But now you don't. Now you can
Yeah,
just like, you know what, we're gonna wait. We're not because the guard class isn't super deep, so you don't have to force it.
you don't
I mean, you
force it.
could always, if you don't feel like there's a good guard, you could always wait to next year,
Yep.
because we at least this year's pretty much covered. So
Well,
um,
and that was like what other signings did they have? Jalen Reeves Maven, he's back.
yeah, he's
Yay.
back. He replaces Chris Ward,
Yep.
as a
And
special team guy.
it's nice to have him back again. Another blast from the past. I like him as a special
Yeah,
teamer, so I'm glad he's back. But
yeah,
but
that's
what
cool.
I was gonna say really quick though was now you look at the draft, and I saw this tweet the other day, and it sums everything up perfectly. They can draft any position at 6, and you can be like, in a positive way, you can be like, that makes sense. I like that pick. No matter
Right.
what, they could go with an offensive lineman. They could go with the
Mhm.
quarterback, receiver, D lineman, corner, and you're like, oh, that makes sense because you can. There's no like
No, you don't have
immediate
to force
flashing
anything.
need anymore. There's not like for the guard spot or the corner before free agency.
Hmm.
I mean, there's no glaring need anymore. So whatever way they go, I'm going to trust Brad Holmes. But like any position makes sense now.
Yeah,
Literally,
you
any
can.
sense.
You can go in any direction. So it's like we could literally just take the best player because guess what? We don't have as of right now. I am confident without the draft. I am confident we're going to win the NFC North,
Yeah,
and then we get the draft. I mean, the draft is obviously majority of it is more for the future. You don't want to draft. You don't want to be in a position where you have to hit this draft and you have to hit the rookie years for you to succeed because then you're like Some guys just need to develop.
Hmm.
So we're not in that position though. We're in a good position where hopefully we can get a couple guys to contribute, but
But
which
it's not. Yeah,
with Brad Holmes classes they all have been. So, but it's not like essential.
it's
you're
not
not
like
depending
you
on
need
it.
these guys to come in now and be immediately impact players like you have the
Yeah,
last 2 years. You can literally, if you want a quarterback at 6 and stash them away for a year or two,
you
you can
could.
do that. If you want to grab a corner and stash them away and let these other guys play and have him be a backup, you can do that. You can do that now with any position, and it
Yeah,
would
and
be
I
like
think
that
I
makes
think
sense.
Lions fans need to trust the quarterback process because if Brad Holmes, he's not going to take a quarterback unless he's absolutely in love with him. So
Yep.
even if you draft a guy like some people might not like a Will Levis or Anthony Richardson, you just got to trust it because clearly he's been very good at evaluating talent in the
Everyone.
draft.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
I would definitely trust it. I have a feeling that's not the way we go, but at the same time, if we did, I wouldn't be mad. And then
Yep.
even an underrated thing is, what if they take that offensive tackle, Peter, I forgot his last name, but from
Scrant.
Northwestern?
Yep.
Yep. So, because you got to think about, okay, how long is Decker going to be here? It could be still a while, but you just never know. So, I mean, you could do anything. That's the crazy thing. Trade back, you could trade up. We could literally do anything. So,
I know.
that's exciting. But the last guy I had as our free agent, we actually already talked about him, was Dave Montgomery.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's why I didn't bring him up because we did talk about him a little
yeah,
bit behind this
I'm
off.
really excited about him, bro. That's the underrated. That's like one of the underrated signings of the
Oh,
whole
and another
free
thing
agency.
too is Jamal Williams again. He was a fan favorite, but he was not as good as Montgomery. And the reason I'm saying that is because I love Swift, but you're not going to need
Hmm.
Swift on the field a bunch now because Montgomery can do a lot of what Swift can
Yeah,
do.
he can catch the ball in the backfield too. So
Because
if Swift goes down, if he has a couple of injuries, you're not sitting there like, because Jamal was not as, he's obviously, I don't think either is really as good as Swift in the receiving game, but Jamal is significantly worse, in the receiving game than David is. David's a good receiver. He's a
yes,
good receiving back because
yeah,
what he does best, it translates to the passing game when he is able to break tackles and open field. So it's like, man, he's dangerous too.
it's
So
going to be awesome. And two, now you're not going to need Swift. I'm saying because he's so injury prone.
yeah,
Instead of like the Philadelphia and Washington game, he was a top 5 running back those first two
mm,
weeks. And
yeah,
then the injury bug bit him, and he just wasn't the same. But that's what if you can start getting him on the field half as much, and he's that productive, but he can play
hmm,
every game of the year, you're in a lot better shape than him having 2 super good games. And he played really good against the Bears and Jaguars too. But instead of
right.
getting 4 really good games and a bunch of other bad or very mediocre games, you could now get half the snaps to him. But now he's maybe playing that good for 8 games because he's healthy the full year instead of he's running around here with an ankle, knee, and shoulder injury all at the same time.
Right.
So
And
that happens.
hopefully this is the year he stays healthy, because if he does, that running game is going to be unstoppable.
Imagine those two. I
So,
mean, I need a break. Swift
yeah,
goes in. Oh, I need a break. Now Montgomery's going in. It's like
you don't
defense.
you don't lose that,
Defense.
the
Oh
yeah,
shit! Now here comes
the
this other
defense, they don't get a break regardless. They're
guy.
like,
Oh,
"Damn, got this guy now." So, yeah, I'm really excited about that. Our offense is going to pick up. It's actually going to be better because Jameson's going to be back, or in the
and
second
he's
year, and he's going to
essentially
be better.
an extra first round pick. I mean, Lions didn't use him
Yeah.
much last year, so
Yeah, because he was hurt, and he got a little rusty and got a little rust off, and he's gonna blow up this season. It's gonna be
yep.
insane. So I'm really excited about him. But
It
let's
was a
talk
very
about,
exciting free agency, though. I'll end
man,
it there.
and see what the Lions fans freaked out a little bit when they were like, oh, we're not gonna, because they came out and said, Dan Campbell came out and said, we're not gonna go crazy, like we're not gonna overspend or go crazy, and
Yeah.
they didn't. But it doesn't mean they're not gonna sign quality guys. We talked about this. We knew eventually they're gonna sign quality guys, but they're not.
Hmm.
They're gonna still be smart and follow what they've been doing, and that's exactly what they did.
Yeah,
So, and that's what I love. Like, we got some really quality guys,
we
and
did.
we didn't spend crazy, and we still have some cap, which brings me to my next point is, with some cap, there's been a lot of rumors about us making a trade, and it's all in the defensive tackle market. So I listed 4 guys I've just seen floating around. Guys been naming them: Ed Oliver, Quentin Williams, DeForest Buckner, and Jeffrey Simmons. So I think the 2 most realistic is honestly Buckner and Simmons, who I think is actually the best 2.
Oh,
But
I love Simmons. Oh my gosh.
yeah, I think because I don't think Buckner wants to, if they're gonna rebuild, really wants to be there. He wants a win and he's a little older, um, and I feel like he'd cost less than Simmons because he's just a little older and he's already getting paid big contract.
Hmm.
So second, maybe a future third. But Jeffrey, he's only 25 years old and he wants a new contract. And I heard it's not going good in Tennessee. He wants out. So
I would
if
pay
that's the
that man
case,
whatever he needs.
yeah, like trade pick 18. I feel like 18 will get it done because you remember the Colts when they acquired DeForest Buckner, they gave up pick 13 for for to the Niners. So I feel like 18 for Jeffrey would be a pretty good deal. I
Yeah.
mean it's not Saints. Titans have been trying to like unload some contracts. They're trying to get some picks. They're trying to
They're
rebuild a
getting rid
little
of a
bit.
lot of the key guys.
Yeah,
But
so
like, it would not surprise me if they're like, all right, we can get another first round pick for the
yeah,
future.
take
And
18 and they can continue to rebuild, and we get a guy there isn't somebody at 18 like Jeffrey Simmons, and we get
no.
him. We'll pay him. See, I think he's a top 5 interior defensive lineman,
Oh
so
yeah.
I'm fine with giving him a big payday because he comes in on our defensive line who I think is already going to be really good. It's going to be elite. I think it might be already going to be elite. Like, give it a couple months in the season and we might be there, but we trade
I
for
mean,
him, it's automatically elite
imagine
because
Hutchinson, McNeil, Simmons, and then no matter what, who's on the other side, you already
it
have
don't
like
matter.
two.
And the rotation would be nasty
I know.
because Hutchinson, you can kick him inside, you can kick John Kaminsky inside. You got Bugs, so and then all the edge rushers we freaking got. Pascal can play a little inside, so it's like, oh my goodness, all of a sudden
Yeah.
the depth would be insane. But if you notice, the best defensive lines, the most elite, they have this killer rotation. You know what I mean? So yeah, I
Yeah.
would do that. Pick
And I, and
18.
I, I like all four of them, but I do think it's going to be a lot harder to get Oliver Williams. Um,
Yeah,
but because I've heard the same thing about contract talks in Tennessee, the Colts are not very, they're in a rebuild, and Buckner's older.
yeah.
Those two
Those
make
are a little,
sense.
yeah,
But
those are different situations because
I'd love to see.
Oliver, he's young. The Bills are good. They want to pay him. Same thing. Quentin Williams. The Jets are getting good. They want to pay him. Why would they? Those are key core pieces to their defense.
That's what I'm saying. They're young
So
guys, and the teams want to keep them. Where Simmons is
yeah, and
young, but they're having issues.
yeah,
Buckner's on a rebuilding team, and he's what? He's 29 or 30. I mean, he's up
yeah,
there.
he's getting close there. So that's why I feel like those are the most realistic. And I don't know.
I
The
feel like
Lions have some cap. So
and Brad Holmes is building this team for the future, but I feel
yeah,
like the team is ready to.
yeah,
And I'm not usually one I want to say this because I always jinx things. I mean, they're legit. Unless something goes terribly wrong, they're going to be Super Bowl contenders this year.
yeah.
Partially because the NFC isn't that strong like the AFC is too.
No, it's
Where
not. I mean,
where like you have the Niners, you have Philadelphia, but outside of them, Dallas isn't
we can
scary.
compete.
Green Bay, Minnesota, no.
Mm,
I mean, Washington, I think will be a little better this year, but who's their
mm,
quarterback?
yeah,
I mean, the Giants again, the kind of same thing. I'm not scared. I mean, I'm just saying
yeah.
this team is built to win now. If
If
you
if
trade
our team continues to develop the way they should, if our talent, what we think we have, gets better and do what we think they're gonna do, like for instance for Hutchinson, if he takes that next step and really starts becoming close to that elite defender, edge rusher, yeah, I think our roster is gonna be able to match up with most teams. And the coaching, like our coaching is phenomenal. We have one of the best coaching staffs in the league, in the NFC for sure, in my opinion.
well, and
So
then yeah,
we're
so
like a young version of what the
man, so
Niners and what the Eagles have. The way they've built and differences, but a lot of similarities. So, yeah, and we
you
haven't
could
even had the
bring in,
draft yet.
you could bring in one of those two guys though. I have a bold prediction. I don't know how bold it is. It probably actually isn't bold at all based on how Brad Holmes has been the first two drafts.
Hmm.
I guarantee, and in the mock drafts I did today, I didn't make any trades, but I
Okay.
guarantee the Lions do not stay at 6, 18, 48, 55. One of those four picks would be
Hmm.
traded, if not 2, 3, something. Whether it's to move up, whether it's to move back on some of them, who knows? But they will definitely not be picking at the spots they're at for the first two
I don't
rounds.
think they're keeping all those picks because you're like, okay, we have a lot of picks. What are we gonna? They're gonna do something with them. So I think there's a scenario where we could trade up for Will Anderson, maybe to Arizona. And I seen some ridiculous trade that had us giving him like 3 or 4 first round picks. I'm like, okay, no, we're not doing that. It's only 3 spots. We're not trading up for a quarterback, so no. And but I think there's a scenario where we could package, one of those seconds, maybe a third. Because remember, we got a third next year too, 2/3, I mean. So you could do something like that, package that, trade up 3 spots, get Will, or maybe Carter falls to you at 6. Maybe you like, okay, we checked him out. We think he's good enough. His character's fine. He fits what we want in our culture. And if that's the case, obviously with his play, you take him. And if you do that, maybe we trade up in the early 10s, 10, 11, 12, and maybe we trade up for one of those top corners, still. And we get, we're going to do something. I agree with you. I don't think we're just going to stay there. Like, I don't think we're just going to stay at 6, 18, 48, 55, and 81.
There's no way.
No, I feel like they're going to do something. I guess it just depends how the board falls, but they have more ammo than they've ever had. And the roster, ironically, we have more ammo than we ever had, and with Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell, but the roster's actually the best it's ever been with them.
Yep.
So it's just like, man, it's a perfect storm.
It is.
So, but yeah, so we'll see if we trade for one of those guys or, because obviously that's probably our biggest need right now is.
You good, Milo? You good? Sorry, my dog's over there like having a seizure. You all right? Not an actual seizure. He's like, oh, he's fine. He's sleeping.
All right, good. But his whole that
shaking up, and I'm like, oh my gosh.
Right.
Sorry, he's back asleep. He's fine. Sorry.
Okay, we can't have that.
He's over there like twitching everything.
Oh man.
Okay, yeah, no, but yeah, sorry. I was just I want to check on him. So.
Oh, you're good.
You want to jump into this mock draft now? We did separate ones.
Let's see what our mock drafts look like.
All right. Did you do trades? I
did not.
Okay, you did not either. Okay, good.
No, I kind of wanted to rotate them.
I kind of like the idea when we do them separately, we don't do trades. But then when we do them together, we can look at them together and decide from there.
I like that idea.
And I went way off my normal path, so we'll see.
I switched it up because I want to be versatile. I was like, I just want to see how it looks, switching up because, okay, I do really want a corner. I do really want one of the top 2 corners, and I feel like that's the move because I look at our cornerback's future. If Jeff doesn't work out, we don't know about Jerry. Cam's only here maybe for 2 years, and then Emmanuel has a 1-year deal. All of a sudden, you don't really have a lot of future there, know. So I really would like a corner, but I did switch it up today.
Yep, I've taken a corner with my first pick like every time. So this time, I went something that I never thought I would do. I'm sure you know where I'm going with that. But
let's go pick by pick. You tell me your pick, and we'll talk about it. I'll tell you my pick. We'll talk about it instead of going through the whole mock each. So.
Oh no, yeah, for sure. We'll go 6. Each go 6 through 6, 18, all that. So
yeah.
Here's what I did this time. I looked at what we did in the free agency and who we re-signed, and I said, okay, there's no glaring needs for this year. I almost picked corner because I like Gonzalez and Witherspoon. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, I've done that every time. Let me change this up. Jalen Carter was gone. Will Anderson was gone. I love Jared Goff actually, but I was like, let's just say Brad Holmes loves this guy. So I took Anthony Richardson, and the reason I took him, Will Levis was there too. The other 2 were gone. Was because they sent scouts to Florida game like 7 times this year, or something like that.
Right.
And so, although he's not ready to play right now, 2 years from now he might be, or I hope he would be.
Yeah.
So I went off the path. I don't think they'll do this. I don't know if I really want them to do this, but if they do, I don't care. I trust what they do. Yeah. But he was there. So I took him. I wanted to be different this time, so I took Anthony Richardson at 6 for my first pick.
That definitely is. But he got the tools. It's a lot of people do hate on him. I'm in this NFL draft group chat, and they do be hating on him because completes percentage and some of his opponents he played. But I'm like, guys, scouts look at the ceiling, and they look at tools, especially quarterbacks. They look at the tools because of Josh Allen and Mahomes. They see like, okay, even though Mahomes had some good numbers, at Texas Tech, but the winning wasn't there for that program. But Josh Allen is a good example. Many people did not believe in him at all.
Yeah,
and he's he's an elite quarterback. So scouts look at tools, and I don't mind that.
he's got the highest ceiling, I think, of any quarterback in this class.
He
Whatever,
has,
whatever get to there, who knows? But
yeah. And it's all about the coach. I always tell people, I seen this one tweet said most NFL prospects wouldn't be bust if they go to the right situation, and I kind of agree with that because, especially for quarterbacks, they need to go in the right situation. Because as soon as that confidence is broken, they're done. They're
they're
done for.
done.
So, and you see it so much. So
He gets to
that would be
go.
good. He
Oh
comes
man,
here, he sits a year, he comes into one of the maybe at the time, maybe when he takes over the best offensive line in the
yeah,
league, or it's definitely elite.
he's gonna
And
come into
great
a
run game,
great
weapons,
situation, man.
coaching, defense. He'll come into an amazing situation.
You have
So
the
if you're a
coaching staff,
quarterback,
the offensive line you're gonna have. These running
yep,
backs coming the ball off to behind the offensive line. The protection you're going to get behind the offensive line, throwing to a very good receiver, and hopefully, and another very good, I should say, an elite receiver, and hopefully another elite receiver.
you're right.
I mean, it's a perfect scenario, and then you get to sit a year and learn behind a, as of right now,
Veteran
top 10
quarterback.
quarterback. I mean,
Yeah. So yeah, that would be. I would not hate it at all because if the thing is, Lions fans need to understand. If Brett Holmes and Dan Campbell draft a guy, they are in love with this guy because they
love,
love Jared Goff. They love
yep.
Jared Goff. So if this has to be the guy, this
But
guy
could
has
you
to be
also
special.
imagine paying a rookie contract too with the team you already have? And again,
That's the
I think that's
dream.
the main thing too. I love Goff. I'm one of his biggest supporters. I would say. I think he's
You
a
are.
top 10 quarterback. But you're gonna have to pay this man probably 40+ million a year here coming up,
Yeah.
which that's the QB market. I get it. But if you're paying, a quarter of that to a guy who could have a top 5 quarterback ceiling, and you have this team around, and then you have this extra 30 million in cap space you can use for a couple of years on other
Yeah.
positions. I mean,
And
that's why.
it allows you to be more aggressive at other positions. You can
Yep.
overpay at another position because your quarterback's so damn cheap.
Yep.
And yeah, so I like that. And I'm curious about the whole Jared Goff situation because I keep thinking about. I was like, what if? Now I don't blame him if he doesn't, but what if he takes a pay cut? Like,
I
wouldn't
thought
if it's
about
not?
that too.
What if he's only taking 25, 30 million a season? Oh my goodness! Then all of a sudden it's like, okay, if you win a Super Bowl with this guy, I mean, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
So I mean,
His fiance makes enough
I'm
money.
curious
He can
about
take
it.
a pay cut. He can go from 40 to 30. His fiance makes a ton
Yeah,
of money being a model, so
right.
take the ten
He's
million
living
dollar
the
pay
life.
cut, and then we don't need another quarterback because I'm fine with keeping you at 30 because you're a good
Right.
quarterback, and if we can save that extra money, but
Yeah.
it's,
So I'm
it's
curious
just
to see
off
how
my
it plays out.
it's off my
Yeah,
norm. So
I like the thought
what's your
process
pick?
though. So my pick is actually he fell to me, Jalen Carter. So if all
I like
checks
it.
out, obviously his film's amazing. If it checks out with his character, and Dan Campbell said some stuff like he talked to his teammate about something, but obviously he wouldn't tell us if it
Yeah,
was good or bad. So we don't really know. But if that stuff checks out, off field stuff, which that's important. If he fits the culture, and if he doesn't, he doesn't. But if that checks out, then at 6, I mean that's a hell yeah, you jump right on that.
he
So
is. He is, if there's anyone I want in that number 6, it would be him as long as everything checks out.
right.
Because he, I think, is the best overall player. And I know his pro day was bad, but that dude probably has so much on his mind.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
didn't even pay attention to Pro Day because I'm like, I wrote it off because everybody was like, oh, it was terrible. But I'm like, guys, you gotta
he shouldn't
understand
have
what
even
he's
done
going
it.
through.
He
Because,
should not have done that.
you gotta, if you put yourself in his shoes, you're like, people are basically accusing him of murder.
Yeah,
And because of the street racing, which he did not know that was going to happen, that his teammate, and I think somebody on the coaching staff, or,
it was
no.
like a scout, not a scout, what's it called? Someone who like goes around with recruits. I think.
Okay. Well, anyways, they died. You got to understand that he's probably close to them and how that made him feel. And then all this comes out, of course, when he's trying to get to live his dream and get drafted. So I definitely think he's probably overwhelmed.
He's a
So
kid.
I'm
He's
not
a
even
college.
like
I mean,
really paying
if,
attention to that.
if you went
Film over
to college,
everything.
if you went to college and didn't do something stupid, which that of course was really stupid, but he didn't know.
Yeah.
Again, drag racing was stupid. Did you think that was going to happen? No. But
Right.
if you went to college and didn't do something stupid, then
Yeah.
you're
And
a
that's
very
what
rare person.
Right, and that's what I think Brad's gonna look at and just like, okay, let's see what his character's like, because that doesn't make his character bad just because of that one incident. That's ridiculous to even think. So, and if
But
everything
he's a
checks out,
monster, man. I
yeah,
would love to have him. He's
man,
a monster.
he will
So
be an elite interior defense lineman very very quickly in the NFL. So if we can't get one of these young or trade for one of these guys, this gotta be
that's the
perfect.
guy. I would love
Cause
it.
you imagine him next to Hutch? Oh, I'm getting chills. That would be
And then,
nasty.
I mean, man, who's gonna run between?
Mm-mm.
Who's gonna run down the?
You're going to have to pass every time.
you have McNeil and Carter. You're about to run right into.
Yeah,
How
they're
are how are
done
you gonna run
because
around that?
yeah, there's no way. And you imagine the linebackers are just gonna have whole, because these two are gonna eat up so many blocks. They're just gonna eat them up. The
Yep.
linebackers gonna have free reign to the running backs easily and quarterbacks. So,
Yeah,
but yeah, so
I
that
like it.
would be fun. I like that elite defensive. I'm obsessed with having an elite defensive line. We'll get it one way or another.
I like it. All right, pick 18. We'll go back to you, and then we can go back to me on this one. So who do you have at 18?
So I said I want a corner, so at 18 to take a corner. Obviously, the top three, I think even four corners are gone. So I went Deontay Banks from Maryland. You
Okay,
know,
I like
I
that.
seen some clip on Twitter, and this guy was breaking down some of his stuff and just his physicality, and I really like that. I've watched a little bit of him, and then being in the Big Ten, I've seen him. But yeah, he's a physical corner, and so I think he would fit really well with us, and he could be, you know, he would obviously be buried, especially him. He would still any corner that comes in is gonna have to work the way up, but I don't know if he'd play a lot this year, but
He
develop
would be a
him and
good
then
stash and play for next year.
yeah,
So you can stash,
yeah,
learn, and next year he's going
maybe
to
he
be a
could
starter.
be like if Jeff don't work out, obviously I feel like his fifth year gets declined, and if he doesn't work out, he doesn't get a new deal. Then this guy could come in. Emmanuel leaves. This guy and Sutton could be our starting corners, and with
Yeah,
and Jerry. So, you want to
I like
have
that.
that, and even if Jeff works out, let's say Jeff does work out, gets a huge deal, 5 years, 4 years, whatever, and then but you want to have someone in case Cam leaves or in 2 years, and you want to have good depth. So, I mean, he'd be a great piece to have
Yeah,
back there.
you never have too many corners, and having
No.
a guy who's a first round pick who's got that talent that you can stash away for a year,
Yeah,
perfect.
and you got him 5 years. So,
Yep.
I mean, even if Sutton's there for 3 years, and then you know what, they're like, okay, he wants a new deal. We can't really pay him. Oh, we got this young corner that's ready for his time. So it's just it's just good future move, and
Yep, I like that.
so yeah. But who do you got?
I took someone here I've taken before. Cansey from Pittsburgh. He
Oh
was
yeah,
still on board. I still think D tackle is kind of probably the biggest need, even though it's not too
yeah.
much.
I think so too.
Just because again the versatility around the defensive line, but I like his athletic traits a ton. Um, and so he was there. I kind of went quarterback on the first pick, which is outside my realm. So I went back to kind of my normal thing here and addressed the defensive spot. I think him, he's a good pass rusher. So him going up
Hmm.
the interior of the defensive
Yeah,
line, gets that pressure
he's
up the
nice.
middle, which I like. He's just a little undersized, a little more raw, but I always have liked that pick. I hope he falls to 18 if they keep the 18th pick. If they don't go Carter or Anderson, let's say in the first with the first pick, I hope they get Cansey with the later first round pick.
Yeah,
So
I like that pick because, like you said, the
I,
pass
I've
rush upside is
yeah
nice.
I've
You
I've
can
guy before, and I keep saying the same thing about him. I just love the prospect.
Yeah, you can teach him like the technical part about because a lot of people hate on his run defense, and you can teach him the technical part about that, and our coaching staff will. And I love our new D line coach. I think he would really develop him. So, and just that you want to really McNeil is a great run defender, solid pass rusher, but we need someone inside that can really get after the quarterback, and he can do
Which
that.
he can do that. So
Yeah,
that's why I like
at
that pick.
yeah, I like that pick too for you. So, who do you got at 48?
So again, I kind of went off my path. Um,
Okay.
I just picked like looking at it now, it's like should I have taken that? But I think he fits what the Lions like doing on offense. And that was Darnell Washington, the tight end from
Mm,
Georgia. So a second round pick is going to cost a ton less than the first round pick.
yeah.
I don't think they're ever going to take a first round tight end because they would have just paid Hawkinson if they were going to do that. And
Right.
also, I think in the offense that they run, they don't need some guy that's going to get 10 catches a game who's going to go out for. I think they like more of a blocking tight end. Um, and so I saw him there at 48, and I kind of like him because he's an unbelievable blocking tight end.
Hmm.
And if you have the offense line you already have him at tight end, and he's blocking. I mean, it's going to be unstoppable. And then
And he's just
he still is a decent pass catcher. He still is athletic.
oh yeah, he's a freak. He's
Yeah,
6'7", 2 what? What does he say? Did they say 280, 260? He's
Whatever
big,
he
but he
is,
moves so
he
smooth and
moves very
fast.
smooth. So he's much
So
more of a blocking tight end, but he has that pass catching ability. But
yeah,
I
he
think for
has
what
high
Lions
upside.
do on offense, he
Yeah,
fits what they like doing.
he has
So
upside to be a probably top 10 tight end. Tight ends are not really that deep in the NFL anymore, but um, yeah, I would actually like that because then this adds to your offense. Like you're
yeah,
like, damn, good
I,
safety
I
blanket. So oh
yep.
my goodness, yeah,
I just liked the because that's kind of a need too. Even though I think they like their tight ends actually, but
yeah,
I thought
that
it
is.
fills a need and he really fits into what they're trying to do. So again, not something I would usually do. I wouldn't mind a second round tight end if the right guy's there. Definitely don't want a first round tight end, but he was there. I liked it, so I clicked it. So
Yeah, I
who'd you
like
do?
that pick. 48. I went linebacker Drew Sanders out of Arkansas. See, now basically this whole draft's gonna be just luxury picks. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? So you got Alex, you got hopefully Barnes takes next step, and then you have Rodriguez. So you got this young guy come in. He could be a 3 down linebacker, and you have him. You know, I mean, I don't know if he plays a lot. We'll see. If he develops, we'll see if. But he could be the linebacker of the
he,
future.
but then again, even this year he can be a really nice rotational player. I mean,
Yeah,
if you have let's say you have Anzalone on the field like the whole time, and
yeah.
you're rotating through Barnes, Rodrigo, and Sanders, who by the way was my next pick, 55. So
Oh
we'll
wow.
talk about that
Yeah, let's
together,
talk
kind
about
of.
him.
If you're playing a certain team who you need to kind of, I mean, I think Rodrigo's a really good run defender.
Yeah,
Um, so maybe you're playing a team who has a really good running attack. So you play Rodrigo. Drew Sanders could maybe fill in for a more needing to cover a linebacker or something. I know that's more Alex Anzalone's spot too, but I'm just saying then you have these three guys behind Alex, and you can kind of just put them on the field for what they need as far as their strengths go versus the team that you're playing.
right. Yeah. Yeah, his upside is pretty big. He could be a great linebacker in the NFL. So, um, that's why it's just a luxury pick. It's like okay,
And
I mean,
that's the
but
thing too.
but
I don't.
linebacker was a little bit of it was a weakness last year. We struggled some parts, especially early in the season. But you think about it, second year Rodriguez, Alex is there, and then you have Barnes in his third year. So you hope those guys get better. Then you throw him in there, and all of a sudden you got good depth.
You got
Depth is
good
gonna
depth,
be huge for
but
any
I mean
playoff team.
that's yeah. And once Alex started playing how we hope he continues to play,
Yeah.
Rodriguez and Barnes just went. I mean they
Yeah.
played so much better with him. And
Yep.
again, as you said, it's a luxury pick. You don't have any glaring needs. You grab this guy. He doesn't need to play that much this year. He can be learning behind Alex and these other guys,
Yep.
and then I mean you could have four and next year. Let's say I'm just going
Yeah.
to 2024. You could have four really good linebackers that can play. If Barnes and Rodrigo take their step, this guy ends up being good, Alex is still playing at the level that we hope he is. I mean, you could have four good
Hmm.
linebackers, and that's a nice problem to have. So
That is a good problem. You want to have more depth and not having enough. Too many
yeah,
guys is always better than too little.
yep,
So, but since that was your 55 pick, I'll go to
yeah. Who's
mine.
your 55?
I went 55. I went tight end Sam Laporta from Iowa.
Iowa.
Win the Iowa back in the Iowa pool for tight end. So I like him. He'd be a really solid tight end for us.
Yep,
And
yep. And
he's
I
just
saw him after the fact too, and I was like, I wouldn't have minded him actually when I went to 55.
yeah.
So
I
I'm
mean,
kind of on the same mindset here with our second
yeah,
round
because we
picks.
do need to. It's kind of it'd be nice if we can upgrade a tight end. Obviously, we don't value him as much, but if we can upgrade a little bit, and that
Yeah,
would be
it would be a
so
nice.
that would be very ideal. I don't think we'll spend big early on a tight end, but if we, who knows, so this would be solid because it's just like okay, who do I take now? It's you don't you
Luxury
almost want
picks.
to yeah luxury picks. You just want to take best players, and he was there, and it does help. Your tight end position. It does improve it.
Does.
So and yeah, so yeah, so that's who I had at 55.
I like it. Pick 81. Who'd you go with 81?
So I like this receiver to replace DJ Chark, and that's A.T. Perry from Wake Forest. I like his size. So he gives us that big outside receiver again. And because I'm so curious to see what we do besides Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jameson Williams. You know, and he's I believe like 6'4", so he's a big receiver, and it
Kind of
gives us
fills
that
in.
size again.
Yeah,
So I would like that. You know, just have another big receiver that can go downfield and
I
just
like
kind of
that.
do what DJ. You know, replace what we lost in DJ. Even though I hope we want to see more deep threats from Amon-Ra St. Brown. He wants to be more of a deep threat. Hopefully that happens, and then Jameson Williams is all around great. But you need some depth, and you need some.
Yeah,
We'll probably use three receivers more than we use two receivers and tight end like a lot of teams do.
yeah.
So that third receiver is actually really important for Detroit.
And Josh Reynolds is he's probably a mid tier wide receiver three.
Yeah,
I
he's
mean,
fine, but
he's fine. But if something happens to the top two guys, he's not
yeah,
he's not a very good one or two.
no.
And not saying
The
that.
upside is there with age or AT. I mean,
Yes,
AT Perry. The upside would be there more than you know
it
what you're getting
is.
a Josh. So yeah, I would like that.
I think he has a good upside, and I like that pick because it is now kind of a not really a need, but it's something you need to address a little bit after the top two guys. So I like that pick a lot.
Yeah. So who did
Um,
you have?
and then I finally addressed the cornerback spot, and I went Julius Brents from Kansas State.
Mm.
Um,
He's a
I,
sneaky one. I like
yeah,
him.
I mean, I didn't go early on obviously in this one because they addressed corner so much, but I still think no matter what, they're one of the picks in the first 2 days they will grab a corner for the
Yeah.
future. And so I thought that this would be a smart pick. I like the player. He gets to sit by, or kind of, I shouldn't say sit behind everyone, but learn behind these guys. He can,
Yeah.
be in these battles, and I could see him being a good starter someday. So I just like the pick.
Yeah. I've
And
seen a lot of people talk good about him. Like they think he could end up being a top 5 corner from this class. They think
yeah,
he can be really great. So he that's super underrated pick. And I've had when I've done some mocks, I've had if I didn't grab a corner early, I grabbed him later, like right around this pick. You said
yep,
80, that was 81, right?
yep, 81.
Yeah, I think that would be such a nice pickup if we, grab him cornered there if you didn't get one yet. Oh man, because I do think he's underrated. So, but yeah,
Yep,
that's a good
that's what we
pick.
got there. So just in the corner spot, and then with pick 152, I went to receiver like you did, and this is another guy that I know the Lions have had a lot of meetings with, and I've heard they liked is Xavier Hutchinson.
Mm-hmm.
Just because again, they're going to need to adjust the receiver position behind the top two guys, and since I know they like this guy, I like the film. Um,
Yeah,
I
and
used it in the fifth round,
he
and I like.
fits. Yeah, he's a perfect fit. He's one of a bigger receiver that or guy we can use at the X position more. So I would like him, in the upsides there. Receiver 3, but if Amon-Ra misses a game or Jameson misses a game, you want to have you don't want to have Josh Reynolds being 1 or 2. You want to have somebody at 3, especially since we use our threes a lot more than a
Yeah,
lot of teams I feel like do. You want them to be able to come in and be that number 1 or 2 when you have injuries. So yeah, I do like that.
yep.
I like
I
the
think
idea.
a good idea for either of the guys we had at receiver. So
Right. But
who do you have at 152?
at 152, I addressed the quarterback position, Stenson Bennett. So I feel like he can be. Somebody said like Luke McCone. Um, so like just that like really solid backup.
Yeah,
So I feel like that's what he can be. He can manage a game probably solid enough where
yep,
he's not costing you, or
yeah. I
he's
mean,
not a Jared Goff or any. He'll never be a starter, but I
well,
think he can
and
do
I
well.
think he's a good game manager. Like if Goff gets hurt and Nate Sudfeld's coming into play,
Yeah,
you got to hope your
yeah,
defense is playing at the top 5 level because you're going to
that
lose.
might be bad. I feel like
But
Stenson, he can just like manage it, like he did at
yes, that's what
Georgia.
I'm saying.
He can. He's not gonna try to do too much. He's just gonna be like he can
That's
use
what I
his
like about him.
legs. He can pass, solid, and just do his job. Just manage it, stay in front. And so I feel like, yeah, I feel
I would like him there. So I
I
think you're
really
about.
don't want. I really don't want. I hate drafting a quarterback in these mock drafts, like the later quarterbacks. I don't want to do it, but I know it's necessary. I
I feel
know
like
we
this
have
year's
to.
class though, almost, and maybe it's just because there's a lot of big-ish names in the back half, but I feel like it's really deep as far as like
It is
you
pretty
can get a
good.
guy in day 3 and he could end up being a really good backup type of
Yeah,
deal. So
that's true. It's way better than last year. Way
yeah,
better.
last year sucked.
Yeah, last year did. So Yeah, it's necessary to do it. So,
Yep.
but yeah, that's who I had at 152.
183.
183. So 183, I had finally went interior offensive line with Chandler Zavilia, from NC State, and the Lions seem to really like him. So, um, I like him. He's pretty good. I feel like his upside is like he could start. He has the tangibles and the traits to be a pretty good offensive guard eventually.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, I went offensive guard too. Just that's why I laughed.
yeah, I
Wasn't the
seen you
same guy.
smiling, and I thought you
I
did.
went Ricky Stormberg from Arkansas.
Okay,
But
yeah, that's another good one.
I addressed it. I think that they filled the spot this year where they don't need to go early. The class isn't great early on, but you
Yeah,
can get a guy in these later rounds that can hopefully
and
again learn and maybe
yeah,
be a starter next year.
the idea is okay. The worst case scenario is there's really good depth, but best case you might be able to find a steal, and in 2 years he might be your starting guard. That would be really ideal. So that was kind of my mindset too with
Yep.
that. And the last picks, who'd you got?
So this
194.
one, looking back, just because who all they signed and everything, maybe it's not the smartest thing, but I was looking more in the future of they don't have many corners signed, so
Yeah.
I double dipped, and I feel like the
Okay.
Lions always double dip every year at one
Yeah,
position.
Brad loves double dipping.
So I just went corner because I thought best player available. He's a guy that stuck out to me. So it was Tyrell Clark from Louisville. He's
Oh yeah,
corner, and so again, once you get in these late 6th round picks, 7th round picks,
yeah.
they're not going to make it or they're not going to be great. But you never know. I mean, Houston and Rodriguez are both 6th round picks. So,
You're really
uh,
just trying to find good depth
yep.
and with high
And
ceilings.
I think he
So
can be a good depth. May end up turning out to be something, but you know,
right,
I think I mean at this point you are looking for depth. I double dipped the corner because in the future, after this year, you only have technically like 2 guys on a contract right now. So I
yeah,
thought double dipping there, you kind of get at least the position filled out for the next couple of years. As far as you don't just have 2 guys signed now, you'd have 4 after the draft for the next couple of years, and so um,
right.
that's why I double dip there. But it's just a best player available kind of
Yeah,
deals.
I like it. Makes sense to me. Like you said, because it's depth. We don't have a lot on the contract next year, so and it's such a Brad thing to do because Brad likes to double dip. You watch the last 2 years he has. Um, Actually, I think he just was it both on the D line because the first year he double dipped in with McNeil and Le'Veon Enrique, and
Yep,
then the next year he double dipped with Aiden Hutchinson and Josh Pascal. Actually, back to back picks too.
and
You
James
know,
Houston.
yeah. So last year he really went crazy on the D line.
Yeah,
But so that is such a Brad Holmes thing. I like that. But for my last pick, it's the last pick I have in every single mock. Is Jake Moody, the kicker out of Michigan. I really want Moody.
I would love to
I,
have Moody.
he has that elite potential as a kicker, and that's underrated, man. So if we can get that our kicker for the next 10, 15 years, that'd be so nice.
Yep,
So and you don't have to worry about that, because it's so frustrating when you have to worry about your kicking situation. So, but yeah, that's my mock.
I like it. I like our mocks. I think it was. I think they're good mocks. So
Yeah, I
we
can't
we
wait just to add more young talent to the already really talented roster we have. Just keep drafting and developing. That's even though we had a good free agency, that's still the whole key to it all. And what they're trying to do is just draft and develop. So, I cannot wait.
I
We'll
know
keep
one
we'll keep
month, 1 month
yeah.
till the draft.
Yep.
We'll keep on doing our mock drafts every time until it gets here,
Right.
and it's an exciting time to be a Lions fan, man. It really is.
Yeah, I cannot wait. This season's gonna be insane. But let's get to the draft and then training camp and then we'll talk about the season.
Yes,
But
yes, sir.
but yeah, we recapped basically it all. All the craziness, and so I'm pretty sure there'll be some more craziness soon. And if not, there's no more big moves in free agency or trading. We'll have the draft, and we'll keep talking about that and prospects, and we'll see what we'll do next podcast. So,
Yep.
but yeah,
Yep. We'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us, and as always, go Lions.
one pride, baby.